pieces are there, and you'll get all my hand-me-downs, so you'll be all right.
Hey. Like I said, it's first one to get to the prop box in the morning gets to pick first.
It gives the advantage to those displacement boats. You know, if they can get on the inside, they'll get around that first corner and shoot off down the back straight because they'll accelerate harder than a GP also.
I've never seen a boat stand up on end like that one did.
Yeah,
it's going to be exciting. I mean, I don't feel like we've seen a Honda in a competitive 2500 yet. A boat that was competitive, and now you're just switching motors. And
our boats, they can get out of shape, but they all or nearly always seem to sort themselves out. So,
and it was only all the boats for a couple minutes because then Bob went buoy hunting.
By the way, there will be new merch coming by Chasin Tails, the Buoy Hunter Club.
We do things a little different to you guys. Our racing is mixed, where we have, we just don't have hydroplanes or we don't have our displacement boats. We have everybody involved. So this weekend we've got 93 boats entered into.
I still want to try this. Claude Bergeron swears you can flat-foot it all the way around Valleyfield.
They did 187 test laps. It might be a good strategy to follow.
From the bank, I don't think people appreciate what actually happens in a corner with a GP hydroplane. And
I've been close in time trials. I've been like going down that backstretch, and I'm like, don't lift. And my foot just takes control. I'm like, why'd you lift? So I'm going through turn 2, yelling at my foot, like, why'd you lift?
I'm Kyle Hayes, driver of the S35 TM Special for TKO Motorsports, and this is Chasin Tails.
Welcome to episode number 4. To start out today's show, we have a little tribute to two of the greats in this sport. We had Ron Jones Jr. pass away, and also Royce Richards, one an icon for boat building and one an icon for being involved in races, teams, all kinds of things. I got the pleasure of driving a few Ron Jones Jr. boats, fast boats built beautifully, and glad to have him a part of our sport for when we did. Unfortunately, his illness took him. Royce Richards was a great person to have. Got to spend a lot of time with him, with Randy English and the 2.5 mods back in the day when my dad drove them, and just a nice gentleman. And
so our thoughts and prayers go with the families of those two gentlemen. Godspeed.
All right, to get today's episode going, we're going to do another segment of Get to Know Your Hosts. For this week's question, we're going to do what is your biggest goal for this upcoming year, particularly, obviously, with racing for the podcast. Anybody want to start?
I got to say, HRL Championship's big on our mind this year. Got everything set up. We got 4 motors ready to go. Obviously, you're going to have a GP Challenge to win and finals to win, but Ronnie's never won an HRL championship, so we want to bring that to him. I've been fortunate to win 2 of them, so we're going for 3. Let's get it going.
Yeah.
What's your guys' your goal? Obviously, you guys are coming out with a new boat, and it looks badass. I'm jealous. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say for me, either a combination of both HRL championship and I want to win Valleyfield. I think with the way last season finished, we were really coming along well with that boat last year, and I got high hopes for this boat this year, and hopefully see some improvement and give it a good go.
Definitely with the new boat, just getting used to everything being different, and getting to drive the 350 this year will be a totally new beast, even more craziness and more of a learning curve, I guess. So yeah, just getting used to both of the new boats.
Sure. What about you, Bob?
Let's see. My goal is to beat Ken Lupton, beat Andrew Tate, beat Brandon Kennedy, beat Jeff Bernard, out drink Jack Lupton.
Oh, you had it sold until you said out drink Jack Lupton. I don't know. I've tried. He did go home before Nashville before me, so maybe I did win. So you got a shot. I think I'll be in both boats at some point this season. I'll be in the 135 and 35. My goal, I have some unfinished business with the 135. We were so close on finals.
we're kind of the underdog running the Bergeron Hall against the Hendersons. So there's some unfinished business there. It was so close a couple times, and then some breaks and stuff like that. So going into this year, I know Ed said, let's take it easy and let's just finish every heat. And so I know that's the goal, is to finish every heat, but you can also try to go win every heat too, right?
And when that final comes, all gloves are off.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're all putting our heads together and making some changes with this boat, and I think with Surge behind the engines, and we got a good shot at being up there with everyone. So, I mean, I know this is the biggest, strongest, toughest field in probably GP history. So, I know it's a big wish to say I want to go win a final, but if you don't say I want to go win a final, then don't even be in a boat, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, we've been watching videos of that boat, trying to come up with new things, make it faster, and that thing was fast. Ronnie always said that the whole time we were building the new boat. He's like, I hope this works, because that other boat was fast, and good thing it is. But man, that Bergeron still got speed. It just got to be shown, got to get to the finish line. We had some bad breaks, but I think it definitely can put it all together. All the pieces are there, and you'll get all my hand-me-downs, so you'll be all right.
Hey. Like I said, it's first one to get to the prop box in the morning gets the pick first.
Hey, think about this with Poppy's boat. You had them props from Barker that Parker said were timed out. He couldn't run them no more, had faster one, then you went out there and beat him. So, I mean, it's possible.
Right? Yeah. No, I think it'll be good. Like I said, there was a couple things that we were missing on the Bergeron when we were running it last, and hopefully we're on the right path with some changes we're making, and we'll see what it does. Might be the underdog, might not be the underdog going in this year. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I know those Hendersons are fast, but
That stuff changes every weekend too. I mean, you see that a lot last year. There were boats that just had really good weekends. There were boats that had really bad weekends, and some boats handle some courses better than others. And just,
yeah.
I think we're good.
If I can keep the Bergeron on the water, it'll be real fast. But
yeah,
as you can see on onboard videos and onshore videos, that I could always find a way to fly boats, but that Bergeron's, it's just different. So I don't know. Maybe I still got to learn. You know, after 20 some years of driving, I still got to learn how to drive a Bergeron. But maybe I can go have a talk with some people who drove them for years, like I don't know, Eric LaBelle, he fly the crap out of the Do It boat Bergeron. And
I've never seen a boat stand up on end like that one did.
Yeah, I still want to try this. Claude Bergeron swears you can flat-foot it all the way around Valleyfield.
I've been close in time trials. I've been like going down that backstretch, and I'm like, don't lift. And my foot just takes control. I'm like, why'd you lift? So I'm going through turn 2 yelling at my foot, like, why'd you lift? It'll handle it.
I don't know. So maybe that'll be a goal. See if I could flat-foot it around Valleyfield.
There you go.
I don't know. Ed's probably watching this, shaking his head, going, baka.
Oh, dear. All right, well, why don't we transition into our boat updates? We don't have a ton this week compared to the last couple of weeks. I think a lot of the boat updates are getting completed or already been completed for this season, which is pretty much about to start. I think the first one I saw this week was the S14, which was previously the F52, which I believe Grant Hearn's going to be driving that.
Grant Hearn, yep.
Grant Hearn's going to be driving that. And, you know, obviously the boat's got a new number, you know, just flipping numbers from the other boat, and then has a new engine. It's got a Honda engine. So, video of that running yesterday.
Yeah.
Looked pretty freaking windy in that test session, man.
What'd you guys think of that video?
That was wild. I mean, obviously the boat looked like it was running solid. It's kind of hard to tell in a video, but
yeah,
I was like, wow, windy.
One thing I picked up from it is just the way that boat powered through the turn. It looked like it was a tight turn, and it did look like it did not slow down that much. It kept beating the whole way through the corner. So that was pretty cool.
seemed like it got off the turn pretty well too. Like,
Yeah.
didn't fight
Yeah.
it a lot. Like, it still had to accelerate, but it just didn't seem like it had to fight getting off the turn much.
Yeah, I mean that they're going to be a solid team. You got Paul Barber, you got Richard Hearn, you got Paul, but he knows a lot about halls, and then you got Richard Hearn. That guy with his numbers and props. He's going to be looking at data and trying to figure out what's the best option to get that boat going. And so I'm pretty sure that boat's going to be fast. It's definitely going to be a fast one.
Yeah, they have a lot of data around that lake, so I'm sure if it wasn't fast, they'd be like, all right, we're going back to the Henderson with the Ford in it. So I'm going to guess they got the valuable data they need, and they're excited. I believe they heard they're coming to Edgewood, going to do some more testing there in race conditions, so they'll be a little bit better off going to Cambridge. So it's going to be exciting. I mean,
cool.
I don't feel like we've seen a Honda in a competitive 2500 yet. A boat that was competitive, and now you're just switching motors and see if it can stay up front or even power past some of the guys out front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it'll definitely be exciting, and so that'll be cool.
Next up, we got the GP15 again, Hop Racing. They are retaining their Stettner sponsorship for the 2024 season.
Oh, cool.
So we'll add a picture in here. I believe the post said that they would be returning, so I would assume they were there last year. Be back again this year, so it's cool. They got two big sponsors with them, and like we talked about in previous episodes, that boat's kind of one of those dark horses that maybe not everybody gives enough credit, but it seems to always find a way to be competitive and be in there in the mix.
Yeah, they cool. Like I said in a previous podcast last year, they stepped it up. They were consistently finishing heats, and they were fast. So. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine that this year they're just going to be faster, so it'll be real cool. And congrats on keeping the sponsor. And
the last one we got is the S12 Monkey Business out on the West Coast. Nothing particularly new with the boat, but they did get a new paint job, and they made a post saying that they're actually the first ones inspected, so they're technically the first ones ready to go on the West Coast for this season.
So who's driving that?
I want to say Gunner is going to drive that.
Gunner O'Farrell.
I
think it's been a mix-up. Like it used to.
I think it is a mix-up.
It's a mix-up. Like I think J. Michael Kelly drives it at times. Didn't Chris Venaris drive it some too?
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, he was driving it before.
Jeff Bernard used to drive it, and
Kip drove it.
Man, that seat's getting wore out.
Oh yeah,
that's almost worse than a Mike Grandel 2.5 stock that's got everybody but your hero in it.
Oh, right.
I used to have to wear plastic getting in that one.
Oh, man, sanitize it.
But yeah, Brandon, you said you had one you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, just we talk about paint jobs all winter. Everybody's getting new paint jobs, and I mean. I just got to give a shout out to Alexi up in Canada. I mean, without her, them Canadian boats wouldn't look as good as they do. And she's a workhorse. I mean, she busts her butt and puts out some cool paint jobs. She's painted our helmets. She's done all kinds of things at Atelier 713. So definitely thank her for being a part of the sport. And I think she's painting her husband, boyfriend, whatever it is. I don't know the Canadian language for that. Fred's boat. So that's our next project. So it's going to be exciting to see him move up to 350 as well.
Speaking of her, she just got done the S2, F2. Wait, S2.
S2.
Yep. I had to take a double look at it because I'm only used to that boat being yellow.
Yeah.
So when I seen it in red and blue with the checkered flag on it, I was like, whoa. I was like, that doesn't look like the same boat. But that boat looks really good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I'm excited to see that one. Yeah,
Jacob, this will be his second year?
Yeah, second year. He started like mid-season last year.
Yeah, okay.
Or actually, I think Bahornwa was Bahornwa and then like a pack-on where there's only 2 races. But
yeah, so he'll be
pretty much done his rookie stuff.
Yeah, he seems pretty eager. I believe he's running the Honda.
Yep.
Yep, because we bought his Ford off of him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it'll be cool to see him out there. He's a generational racer. His dad races the H2. and his dad does real good. So I'm sure Jacob will do real good too. So that'll be interesting to see him run and see how that Honda does in that Jones boat. Two Jones boats with Hondas in it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So
Big
that's a
things
little
happening.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Be interesting to see how the like you said, how those boats react with the Honda, and see if like they react the same or they could both be totally different reactions. I don't know, like those boats to me have always looked a little different. Like, are they built a little different, or is it just the paint job that I've always seen on them that makes them look like that?
They're built different, totally
Yeah.
different bottom of the sponsons. So
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when our tenure with Hearn was going on, Paul would send me pictures. It'd be middle of the season. Here's a picture of the Jones sponsons are off of it, moving them around, changing angles. I'm like, you're middle of the season. You're cutting sponsons off to make it faster, but I mean that's what you gotta do to figure them out. I mean it's not a cookie cutter boat. You gotta make changes. And I know Ray, when he built the yellow one now, nose boat, that had a lot of different things in it. It's a little bit longer boat than the Hendersons. I think it's all the way to the box roll. So a lot of different things. They all drive different too. So
that's another guy who's a workhorse is Paul Barber. That dude, he's always rebuilding an engine or taking a saw to a boat, cutting it up, changing this, changing that. That guy doesn't stop. He's probably so wore out. He's so wore out he had to take last year off.
Exactly. Yeah, that did happen to him in Brockville a few years ago. He got so wore out. I think he had to go to the ambulance because he was working on everybody else's stuff. And by the time he got to drive his own boat, he's like, "Woo, this is a break, but I also can't do it right now." So he's like, I get to that race. I'm focusing on my own stuff, and I'm gonna go out there because I want to compete. So he's.
I think last year he was messing with drag cars.
Yeah, he was
last summer
building a couple drag cars. He wanted to stay away from boat racing. He bought himself a sprint car. I don't know if he ever raced it and finished it, but that boat racing's that drug you can't get out of your system. So he's back.
It's either farming or working on boats or cars.
No in between.
I was about to say, he came out and raced at Mott Lake.
Yeah,
he did. Yep.
Yeah, he got that itch.
Is he from around this way?
No, he's Ontario.
Ontario.
Just after Brockville, I would say, going east.
Okay. Damn. So that was a decent drive for that race.
Yeah.
Yeah. He sent me pictures that I think it was Grant's boat there that got all tore up. He said, "Go to one race." They said it'll be fun, and now I got to fix it for next month.
Yeah, that course was like, it wasn't rough, but especially the 2.5 stock finals, once we stuck all the boats out there, it got a little rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even need to be rough to mess up one of those boats. It just takes one of those little hops, little hooks. I mean, you can do some damage.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah. No doubt.
And it was only all the boats for a couple minutes because then Bob went buoy hunting.
By the way, there will be new merch coming by Chasin Tails, the Buoy Hunter Club. You will be a part of it. If you hit a buoy this season, HRL, APBA, H1, I don't care. You're getting a free T-shirt that says Buoy Hunter. I tagged it. So
Nice.
Who's going to be the first to receive it? We'll see.
You guys aren't doing
Brought
that,
to you by River City Printing.
I don't know. We got Caesar's Creek.
I got a really good.
It might
Yeah,
happen.
we got some cool designs coming.
Oh,
on
it's
the
Kyle
pipeline.
Bipes from River City Printing asked me for my address today. He better not be sending me a buoy hunter.
Oh, he's
yeah.
totally sending you one.
I think you're lucky the designs aren't done yet, but they coming soon. I'm telling you, you might have one. Between you and Dave Villwalk, who hits the most buoys? We'll see.
Hey, speaking of Dave Villwalk, I seen him. He liked the podcast Facebook page yesterday or today, one of the two.
It's pretty cool. One of the legends of the sport for sure.
Yeah.
He's one of them guys, you either love him or you hate him. I don't know if there's any in between, but the knowledge he has, what he can do with an unlimited haul is just incredible. I just try to sit back, watch, and learn, see what he changes. Definitely knows his way around.
Say they hate him because they ain't him. I mean,
Exactly.
look, the dude, everything he gets in, he just turns to, it's fast. Like K-boat, hydroplane. I mean,
Superstocks.
you name
set a
it.
bunch of records.
That guy is super smart. I mean, he'd be one to learn from, sitting in a shop for a couple weeks just taking notes. I mean, the guy knows his stuff.
We talked a lot about flat bottom. Australia segment, and he's I think Dave Villwalk's the only one that ever put a skid fin on a super stock, and that made that thing a rocket ship.
Oh, I can imagine.
And it was quickly outlawed.
Yeah, because if you can't beat it, might as well outlaw it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, what are these? You can't have a skid fin. It's dangerous. Well, what about all these hydroplanes?
Just trying to put training wheels on my flat bottom.
All right.
Chasin Tails episode number 4. We're here with Steve Scott. You run the EC Griffith Cup as a promoter. You also have the hydroplane Aqua Magic, and I was told you were the last one to drive a unlimited power GP size boat before it had a capsule in it. We'd love to hear more about your story. Love to hear about the event coming up this weekend. And first off, how you doing down there? It's morning down there in Australia, huh?
It is. It's morning. It's just after 10 o'clock. Moving from summer, we're currently in autumn, so nice time to run race meetings down here. The weather's calming down, winds dropped off, so cool days, but perfect water conditions.
Nice.
Yeah, well, my history, born into boat racing. My father actually raced a unlimited hydroplane down here, one of the first in Australia. That was called the Aggressor, painted up in the Bardol colours. Him and his partner liked those colours. So, that was back in the 60s and 70s. So, I was born into the sport, and here I am 50-something years later, and now a promoter.
That's good. That's a little transition. What was easier? Was it easier to be the driver of the crew, or is the promoter easier?
Driver and crew.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, we do things a little different to you guys. Our racing is mixed, where we have, we just don't have hydroplanes, or we don't have our displacement boats. We have everybody involved. So this weekend we've got 93 boats entered into the meeting. So a lot to coordinate.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome. How many different classes do you guys run on this weekend coming up?
So we run We've got junior classes, which are for the kids. Formula Future, we call it. That's from 12 years old. So we've got 16 entrants into the Formula Future class, right through 1.6 litre hydroplanes, equivalent to your 1.5, I think, 16-foot hydroplanes. Next class up from there would be a 6 litre hydroplane, and then onto the unlimiteds or GPs. So there's 4 classes there, and then we have what we call our displacement classes, which we have a mile-an-hour speed restricted class, a 6 litre class, and then our what we call blown alcohol displacements. So they've basically got the GP engines in a displacement type boat.
A displacement type boat, I believe, is a flat bottom, like a K boat, right?
Similar to the K boats.
Similar, but with a V bottom.
Yeah, they started off life as a V bottom, so from the outside they look very much like a V bottom boat, but as they have evolved, the transom is actually quite flat when you look at the bottom, so it's sort of a hybrid between your flat bottom and a V bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, watching them on videos, it looks like they can get a little more out of shape than our K boats and super stocks over here, and recover a little better. Is that true, or just what we see on the videos?
I agree with your last statement that they recover a lot better. My perception of your flat bottoms or K boats is they're very much unpredictable and roll over very, very easily. That's my perception.
Mm-hmm. I think that's just the drivers.
Possibly. Our boats, they can get out of shape, but they all or nearly always seem to sort themselves out. So, and, they're doing upwards of over 150 mile an hour now on those things. So they're pretty quick.
Well, so they give the Grand Prix a run for their money now that the speeds are starting to get up there.
Oh, definitely. Off the line, we do pole boat starts which I think is a little bit different to you guys. You guys use clocks, so we line up behind a pole boat where there's a perfect line of boats. They drop the flag and off they go. It's almost a rolling start if they were cars. And the displacements or the bad boats will run the GPs to the first corner, that's for sure. But the advantage with the GPs, they can maintain their speed around the corner. And the other thing we do different, of course, is we mix them up. We'll throw them all in together and have a race, which is quite exciting.
So
The fans
do
gotta
they
love that.
do the drivers like that from the different classes to get mixed up, or do some people not like it? Or
the displacement drivers, they have concerns about the waves that the GPs stir up in the corners. So, from the bank, I don't think people appreciate what actually happens in a corner with a GP hydroplane, and a lot of the displacement drivers that haven't done it, they'll say, "Oh, we'll have a crack. We'll take on a GP," and they come in afterwards and they go, "Whoa, I've never experienced anything like that before."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that skid fin's digging a massive hole.
I drive a
hard to see.
I drive a GP, and I'm concerned about the waves that some GPs put off.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's plenty around that do race them on a regular basis. There's others that are very wary. So, I think it's a different style of racing. They have to be aware, obviously, that they're in small boats. Some of them are only 18 foot 6 long, so they're quite a small boat going very fast. And, when you get to a bit of a hole in a corner, that does upset them quite a bit.
Now, how do you guys do, like, going into the final for the Griffith Cup? How do you do, like, the lane assignments? Is that based on preliminary heats, or how's that work?
Yeah, correct. This year we've got, I think, 18 entries into the Griffith Cup, so they'll be drawn random for their heats, and then to qualify from a heat into the final, it will go on fastest race time, not your lap time, actual race time. So if you happen to be a fast boat that draws in a heat with some slower boats, you can't afford to back off and just finish across the line first, because you'll potentially be put out by 6 faster boats in the next heat. So it's an interesting concept where in the heat you've got to go pedal to the metal to qualify for the final.
So there's just one heat leading up to the final?
Correct. Everyone gets one heat.
Ooh, that's stressful.
Yeah, for sure.
So what size course do you guys run?
I can tell you in meters. I don't know whether you guys can convert to your miles.
Oh, we can. I got a cell phone. We can convert it.
Yeah. It's approximately 800 meter straights, and then the width of, or the diameter of the corners is 25 meter. So in comparison to the course you guys run with your hydroplanes, they're quite narrow.
So you have a half a mile straightaway. Oh, wow.
If that's what 800 meters is.
Yeah. It's about that. Yeah. And then I want to say your turns are less than 100 feet wide.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So it is quite tight.
Wow.
We would have.
It gives the advantage to those displacement boats. If they can get on the inside, they'll get around that first corner and shoot off down the back straight, because they'll accelerate harder than a GP also. And then it's game on. GP, catch the displacement, catch the little guy out the front.
Wow.
We would have to design a whole new skid fin for that course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Certainly different to what you guys do.
Yeah.
So sometimes, pole 1 is not always an advantage. 2 or 3 where you can hold the power on and go around comfortably. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like those turns are about like Valleyfield turn 2. So yeah, I can attest that lane 1's not always the best one. So definitely want to pinch somebody in there.
Yeah, I've seen Valleyfield, and absolutely that turn 1 at Valleyfield's tight. So
that's really neat. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the history of the Cup. I know it's been around for almost as long as our APBA Gold Cup. Might give us some more details if you can.
Yeah, it's said to be the second oldest motorsport trophy in the world. I'm not sure whether the oldest or the it might be the Indy. I'm not sure. It's one of the ones you do, but ours is said to be the second oldest. So, been around a very long time. It's an Australasian championship, so it's the Aussies versus the Kiwis. The country that is the winning country holds the trophy, holds the race. And in the whole history of 100 and whatever years it is, there's only ever been 3 New Zealanders come to Australia and win the cup, and there's only ever been 4 Australians that have gone to New Zealand to win it back. So
Wow.
when it goes either way, it seems to stay there for quite some time.
Wow.
From what I heard, Howie Benz back in the early 90s went over there and won it, but since he's not New Zealand or Australian, he couldn't bring it back over.
That's correct. He was driving a New Zealand boat, I think called Latimer Lodge at the time, which was a Lauderbeck style.
Mm-hmm.
And he drove it, but he was driving it for New Zealand. So,
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
you guys would know the Luptons.
Yep.
Warwick, who's just such a
Character.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He's been over here, and he's actually won it twice in Australia.
Wow.
So, we're looking forward to the time he comes back and has another crack, because certainly adds another dimension to our race meeting when they turn up.
Yeah, that's how we feel over here. I mean, it's been a pleasure having them in the HRL circuit. Definitely upped everyone's game and upped our competition level. So I could imagine going over there to Australia, it makes everyone that might have had easy years, or maybe they just have to up their game a little bit more when they come over. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely, absolutely. When they're on their game and they don't mind breaking gear either. It's like they're here for a job, and
I think I think I heard a story where they came over there with 5 engines and left with all 5 broke.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So. I'm still waiting for Grant Harrison to show up with his GP1 in Valleyfield.
Yeah, so are we.
It'll
GP1.
Yeah, I know. I know he'll be no slouch, and he would be a contender for winning. So it would be pretty awesome to see him come over here.
Yeah, absolutely. There's himself or Warlord with Troy Marland and Paul Burton.
They have a lot of fans over here, so they would have some people cheering for him in the stands. That's for sure.
Yeah. Would be interesting. They're both very hard, passionate racers, and it will be interesting actually to see how they go head to head this year, because as it's worked out, the two of those haven't had a head-to-head race for a long time. Unfortunately, GP1 had issues last year at the Griffith Cup in the final. Warlord qualified 1 and GP1 in 2, and as we said, GP1 outdrove Warlord, had the advantage in the first corner, drove around the outside of him. Then it was on side by side down the back straight, and that's as far as they got. GP1 had a fuel issue and pulled out of the race, so the rematch is on, and absolutely.
It is it live streamed?
It is.
Okay.
Scotty Lambert, GP Hydro live streaming. He live streams the whole weekend from Friday through till Sunday. So
wow, we'll definitely put that link in the description below. So.
Yeah. The other really competitive boat that we've got here is White Noise.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's Jan Thurrett's old boat.
Yep.
It was fast over here, so just hasn't skipped a beat since it went down under.
Yeah. That was the casino boat. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The latest one. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
So how many GPs are you guys expecting this weekend?
There'll be 4 GPs.
Okay.
Attending. We've got another couple, unfortunately, that haven't been able to make it. So would have been nice to have 6. We've got 6 that do run on our circuit. And talk about mixing it up. We've also got an old Thunderboat with the Rolls-Royce Merlin, so he goes in the same races.
He was there last year, I believe, right?
Yeah. He's a regular on our circuit. He attends all race meetings, and that's the boat that you spoke of earlier. That's the last boat that I drove with the open cockpit with the Merlin in it, and then they installed the cockpit. So,
how was that experience?
To be truthful, it was 1997. I was 25. I didn't appreciate what I had at the time. I look back now and really value that experience, because thunderboats in Australia, there aren't too many of them. So to get behind the wheel and drive a Rolls-Royce Merlin, it's incredible experience, especially in the open cockpit too. Pretty wild.
I remember the first time seeing that boat. I'm like, that's an odd sized boat. And then I started counting the pipes out of the side. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. So
how old is that boat?
It was built in the 80s.
Okay.
So it's quite old. I would say it's a crowd favourite. It can't really compete with the Jeep. It just the power to weight. You just can't. It's got less horsepower and it weighs 3 times as much. I mean, the boat weighs 3.5 tons.
Oh wow!
So,
wow.
And the circuits, our race circuit can be between that 800 metre straight, which is an 1800 metre circuit, up to 2.5 kilometres. They used to run the old 2.5 kilometre course, which the Merlin could open up and stretch its legs, but the courses have got shorter and shorter, and unfortunately that boat's not suited to it. But to have a Rolls-Royce Merlin go past, 20 metres off the bank, it shakes the ground and gets the crowd excited, that's for sure.
For sure.
Oh, it's cool. It's cool to see it around.
Yeah.
So there's another race happening this weekend. I forget the name of it, but what's that cup about?
Within our race meeting?
Yes.
There's a number of championships on. We've got a 6-litre hydroplane class.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a trophy race for that. And the other one that really interests the crowd is our Anzac Day trophy on the Sunday. And that's open unlimited. So we'll have Formula One style tunnel boats. We'll have our displacement boats. We'll have our Grand Prix hydroplanes, and we'll have the unlimited Thunderboat in there. So
wow, that's definitely a sight for the fans.
That's a truly unlimited race. The EC Griffith Cup is open, unlimited inboard, so you can't enter an outboard into that race.
Okay.
But anything piston driven, any style of boat, any type of engine in the Griffith Cup. But the Sunday race, the Anzac Day Cup, trophy, that's a truly unlimited. So run what you want.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool. I hear a lot of classes or guys over there are big on turbos.
They're coming on strong at the moment. Yeah, that's the other major event for the weekend is the National Drivers' Championship, which has kicked off this year for our bad boats, and that's open to any forced induction displacement style boat. So you can run the traditional supercharger, or you can run the turbochargers. And there's a couple of guys that say the technology with the turbos now, when they get them sorted, they reckon they're going to have it all over the supercharged boats.
Wow.
So
takes a lot less horsepower to turn them.
Less horsepower, and it's less money to buy a turbo too than versus a supercharger. Superchargers, they're pricey these days.
Yeah, and I believe the technology is there to control the horsepower. They can, and I don't know how it works, but they can control how it comes on. They can put boost in it down low, they can put boost in it up high, and makes the boat a lot more drivable. Whereas, as we know, a supercharger spins with the crank, and all you do is put a smaller pulley on and make more power.
It's all go. That's it. I do love that loud pedal.
So there's 16 boats entered in that. That's a 4-round national championship. That'll be contested. We'll have qualifying laps on the Friday, 2 elimination heats on the Saturday, and then they run into finals on the Sunday.
Wow, that's exciting.
So, yeah, it's a new concept. We've got a company involved where it's going to free-to-air TV over here. They post-produce those programs, so it's very exciting for the sport. And I believe it even goes around the world. You guys have got a channel called MAV TV.
Yep.
On the East Coast. Yeah, I believe those programs will be showing on MAV TV. So.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow. We'll have to check them out. Them bad boats are definitely one of those that I would drive that over a K-boat just watching them. There was a talk with HRL, probably it's been a while, 10 years ago, about trying to bring them over here and being a part of the HRL circuit, but it just never materialized. I definitely would have had one. They look like a blast to drive.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Probably 6 years ago now, there's a chap over there. He bought a lot of our 6-litre displacement boats over. They run the NASCAR style engine.
Yep.
And they tried to get the class going over there because all our displacement boats now, you're only allowed to do 105 mile an hour in an open boat now.
Mm-hmm.
Anything over that has to be in a capsule, which is actually stepping down to 95 mile an hour next season. So APBA over here is mandating safety, and there's even with the 95 mile an hour restricted classes, there's been a couple of incidents where drivers have got hit and fortunately not too badly hurt. So all of our displacement now are going towards safety cockpits, similar to what's in the hydroplanes. So
yeah, I think that's a good way. And I mean, I know we've seen the evolution of the flat bottoms over here, and comparing it seemed like a lot of people struggled to get the capsules to work in the pro stock, super stocks. You'd see a lot of rollovers, so all the old timers, they didn't want capsules, but it's definitely the wave of the future. And seeing those 6-liter boats, the bad boats, they seem to handle it well. They're balanced a little bit better. It's almost like the boat was built around the capsule. I don't know if that's true or not, but like it was designed for that weight distribution.
Yeah, a lot of development's gone into it over a lot of years. There's a guy over here, Malcolm Everingham, who was pretty passionate about it, and that's the style of hull, the Evercraft, which I think in the end about 6 of them come over there. They were trying to get the class going, but it failed, and they've all ended up back here in Australia now.
Oh, wow.
And the other style is the Child's Play, which is very, very popular. And as you say there, there's a total of 22 boats entered into our National Drivers' Championship, and all of those have capsules on them.
Oh, wow.
And then you've got, so they're the forced induction, as they call it, either supercharged or turbocharged. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, we've probably got another 10 boats running in the 6-litre class. So it was a difficult decision. It was made, there's a guy by the name of Dave Bryant come over here and raced, and we had 2 deaths on the same weekend, Dave and Brian McCosker, and that was 12 years ago, 10 or 12 years ago now, and that's when the APBA, one happened on Saturday, one happened on Sunday, and our APBA just said that's enough. There'll be no more open cockpit racing. There was actually a pause put on the sport, and then the compromise was, okay, well, we'll introduce a 105 mile an hour speed restricted class. So you can run up to 105 mile an hour. If you want to go quicker than that, you put a capsule in your boat. So there's a little lull in the sport. There were already capsules were being developed. There weren't a lot of them around, but there's enough to keep the sport happening. And then it's built up. Like I say, now it's fantastic, I go to open boat races and just cringe.
Yeah.
Watching those guys. It's like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's one I said to my family said to me, that you'd never get in an open flat bottom, but I developed that my own. Yeah, I ain't going to do it.
Yeah.
Not even for play.
No. Well, I mean, I've driven hydroplanes all of my life. Hydroplanes are my passion. So I drove built and drove the 1.6 litre. We've got a 4.2 litre class. And back in the day, there was no alternative, and you didn't think any different of it.
Yeah.
now you go, I can sit in that, or I can hang on to that.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys did it.
So, yeah.
So your
certainly good
race,
fun.
it seems like it's pretty big. You're gonna have a lot of boats. Now, what you guys have sponsors for this race, or?
It's pretty much a hobby over here.
Okay.
We don't. Yeah, it's not professional at all. All our workers are volunteers. All our course boats are volunteers. We have professional divers and paramedics on course because you need that for safety. But other than that, it's all voluntary. So
That's pretty much how ours are too.
Yeah. We go around and we do try and get in some sponsors, and there are sponsors for the event. Some monetary ones, but a lot of our sponsorship is in kind, where people donate product or services. So the local council is very involved, which we're appreciative of up at Yarrawonga. And there's a ski club up there, which is also a big supporter of the Mulwala Water Ski Club, where we have our presentations on the Friday and a introduction and pole draw on the Friday. So,
oh, very cool.
Yeah,
it's nice to have the community involved too. Like you said, the locals and all that. That's what makes the boat racing go around, when you have that local support.
Yeah. Well, where we run this boat race, it's actually I'm based in Melbourne, in Victoria. This boat race is on the border between Victoria and New South Wales on the Murray River. I'd call it a country town, probably 2,000 or 3,000 residents, and they really get behind it. So we have to travel. Most people come from the capital cities, so it's the race meeting's 3 hours from Melbourne and about 8 hours from Sydney. So somewhere in the middle, and everybody travels, but perfect venue. The lake is right next to the main street of the town. We get the support of the local businesses, so it's fantastic. Local tourism get behind it and help us out. We're having an aerobatic display from Matt Hall in his Red Bull plane.
Oh, cool.
And there's some actually promotional video from last year where Grant done a run, and we had the Red Bull plane chasing Grant along in his GP1 hydroplane. So
yeah, I did see that. That was really neat.
That was nice.
It's one of a kind shots there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to step it up this year. We're going to have one of our displacement boats, the hydroplane and the aeroplane. So
nice.
That'll be the promotion for Friday. So
there you go. Well, we're definitely excited to watch the event unfold this weekend. Maybe a GP will win. I hope, as a GP driver, you want a GP to win, but the displacement hall is cool too. But who would be your pick to win the EC Griffith Cup?
The two big names in Australia, it's GP1 with Grant Harrison or Warlord with Troy Marland. They're a level on their own. But the little displacement boats on their day, they push the hydros, and those two with Grant and Troy, they're going to be pushing hard. So, my pick would be, I can't pick between Grant and Troy, but they both had their issues. I mean, Troy Marland with Warlord, they went to a race meeting 2-3 weeks ago, and they blew the gearbox up. Blew it to pieces.
Yikes.
So, you just never know.
I'm rooting for the underdog, the displacement boat.
Absolutely. It was actually 1997 the last time a displacement won the cup.
Oh, wow.
That was Brian McCosker in a boat called Liberty. The Kiwis were here. Peter Knight was here in Boss Mobile 1. I was actually driving Aussie Connection that year, and I say it's the race that I should have won. So how many of those do we all have?
Oh yeah.
So I won my heat, and then went into the final. Peter Knight stopped. And I went, oh, well, that's one down. And come around the second turn, and the Merlin coughed, and the oil pressure warning light come on. And like I said, I was 25 at the time. I had so much respect for the boat, and I just switched it off. Brought it back to the bank. The owner said, what's wrong? And I told him, and he said, well, there's no oil in it. Let's start it. So he fired it up, and it was only a case, because it was so hot, the revs dropped off, the oil pressure light come on. There was actually nothing wrong with the boat, so I could have continued on.
Heartbreak.
So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, Brian McCosker went on to win it in an open cockpit, blown displacement.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's amazing.
That's a lot of years without having one win, so maybe it's the time. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's plenty of them entered too. So 16 entries is quite good for us. Normally you'd get the GPs, and then you'd get, a couple of the displacements have a crack. But this year with the Drivers' Championship, having 16 of the blown boats on site, they're all gone, well, we're going to have a crack at this and see if we can knock the GPs off. So.
Oh, wow. No, I don't know if this was answered already, but so the displacement boats going into the final, do they start on the inside of the GPs?
No.
No? Okay.
Nope.
It's wherever they qualify.
Yeah, absolutely. Australasian Championship for what we call our club trophies, or anything that's not regulated, or an APBA trophy. The clubs have the officials have the discretion to move the boats. But this being an Australasian Championship, where you qualify is where you start. The only option you have is you can opt to go outside, which the Thunderboat normally does, because there's no way a Rolls-Royce Merlin's going to go around in pole 1, 2, or 3. So
and
generally,
how many are in the final?
There'll be 8 boats in the final.
On that tight of a course. Woo! That's a show.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be on the inside.
Yeah. We had a guy just a couple of years ago, Brett Shepherd, in a boat called Unleashed, one of our very quick displacement boats. And he qualified second outside of Grant. This is hearsay. It's not fact, but it seemed that he wanted to get to the first corner first, hold Grant in, and he reckoned he was going to win the race in the first corner, but didn't realise the amount of water comes off the right-hand sponson of a hydroplane when you tip it in. So he made it there first, but Grant didn't back off and turned it in and hosed it down. There's actually photos of this displacement, and it's just about submerged.
Oh my gosh!
Under the wall of water. Unfortunately, he stopped, put an end to his race, but he had a crack.
Yeah, he sent it.
He did.
Well, hey, if you're an underdog, you have to do stuff like that, or you're not going to have a shot. You have to get those kahunas out and get going.
Yeah. It was win it or bin it, that's for sure. So, make it to the first corner, hold Grant in, and he was in with a chance. If Grant got to the corner first, it was game over. So and he was on. His game plan started perfectly. So
this is getting me excited for this weekend. I want to watch the race. Can we have it right now?
Yeah. We'll jump on GP Hydro live streaming. Scotty does a fantastic job. We have drones. He has several cameras around the course. Puts in a massive effort. All voluntary too, mind you. So. All free.
Yeah, didn't he have an issue a couple years ago? Someone broke into his van and stole some equipment.
He did. He was preparing for a race meeting, and the van was parked at the front of his house here in Melbourne. And someone decided that they wanted his gear more than what he did.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Thankfully he rebuilt from that and still giving good content and live stream to all of us that want to watch.
So the whole world can watch, because we've been watching his live stream over here for a long time. So I really appreciate him doing it, because if not, we would only hear from phone calls and emails on how the race went over there.
Yeah, that's correct. Scotty it's his passion, it's his hobby. Puts a lot of time and a lot of money into it, and as I said, he does it as a volunteer. He doesn't charge the clubs.
Oh wow!
So does a fantastic job. So I believe
That's
actually
awesome.
he is actually looking at pay-per-view next year, just to try and cover some of his costs. But for right now, right this race meeting, jump on. It's free for everybody.
Wow, definitely. We'll definitely, again, link it in the description below, and then we'll put it all over Facebook and promote your event the best we could from over here. And I think we're at the point where it's closing time, so anything you want to add about your event, your team, the floor is yours.
Look, I'd just like to thank you guys for having me on. Hopefully we'll get some more viewers on GP Hydro live streaming. And for any of our volunteers or teams that see this as a promoter, thank you for coming and making this what is most likely the biggest, it's the biggest race meeting in Australia for probably 20-something years. So the weather gods are shining on us. It's going to be good. Fingers crossed for some fast, safe racing.
That's exciting. We'll be watching. Definitely thanks to volunteers and everyone involved, and we look to see some exciting racing.
And thank you for putting on the race.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Like I said, born into it. I love it.
That's awesome.
When it's in your blood, you can't get rid of it.
Correct.
Speaking of testing this week, we're 4 days out, 3 days out?
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
Caesar's Creek. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I know
awesome.
I pulled up the list, at least the last list that I saw on Facebook.
So as of the last list, we had the Y40, the S17, the S20, the S92, the F50 or F77, the F555, the S50 and 500, the Y69, the Y41, S64, the S429, which is a brand new driver this year, the A3, the E55, E100, the E8, the E40, the E323, the GNH 146, and the Pro Stock 106. So it's a pretty
It's a good field.
pretty good list of boats.
Can't even get that to a boat race sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's especially for 2.5s. I mean, you got between the F and the S class, you got like 8, maybe not 8, but like 8 to 10 of them.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, people ask us all the time, how do you practice? How do you do this? How do you do that? Well, this is your only shot, really. One time a year to go test. And I know HRL guys get to do it on the weekly basis, but you don't have a real course set up. You're just kind of going out there testing systems, where this is a course. Talked to John the other weekend. He said I thought it was a 1.25 miles, but it's in a different spot, so it's a little less than a mile tight course. So it's perfect for testing on them HRL conditions for sure.
Absolutely. Like you said, he did 187 laps or something like that.
Crazy, and I'm sure he's ready.
I mean, that's
to do
like
it again.
That's probably, unless you're doing a wicked schedule, that's like more than an entire race season right there.
Yeah, you got to come prepared. I mean, they said they had rudders ready to switch out, skid fins, and they did almost everything in the water. Didn't come out much, and that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, you're taking time to crane in, crane out, and get in the boat, get out of the boat. So hopefully some others picked up on that and do their own testing that way too, and collect some valuable data going into the season.
Yeah, I know you can tell just by the amount of boats that are expected to show up, particularly in the S class, that definitely some people taking notes of that, ready to go see if they can find some secrets for this year, and boat that goes out and dominates in the way that the 92 did last year, and find out they did 187 test laps. That might be a good strategy to follow.
And other than being able to drive this weekend, I'm excited to be able to go around the pits and interview everyone and see the different changes that everyone are trying for this season.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be cool to give our viewers and listeners a new insight to the race sites. We're not only going to be a podcast. We're going to do a lot of media around the races, reels, things like that, interviews, and it's going to be the first opportunity. It's going to be our testing session, too. We're just sending Austin. We're sending him to the Wolves by himself. He'll figure it out, though.
We'll be running around with the camera and a mic. Just be ready.
Yep, be ready. Be ready. It
Hopefully at Valleyfield we can get that grass spot so we can set up our podcast and just have people come by and interview all weekend.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
That would be cool. We just got a new backdrop coming soon, so hopefully we'll have it in time for Edgewood. So we'll set it up at the races. Definitely Valleyfield in the grass area. on that number 5-1 crane, whatever the far crane is. It's my favorite crane.
next to the pavilion.
We'll do the interviews there. We hold down the fort. We'll call that the Kennedy Corner.
Yeah, actually, it would be good to set up in that pavilion during the day.
Yeah, that's
a table. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. But I was just back to Caesars Creek. While we were talking, I pulled up the weather, and it doesn't look too hot. I mean, they're calling for 20 to 30 mile an hour winds on Saturday.
Oof.
Talk about some testing conditions.
Go ahead, Austin.
Boy.
Go test that 350.
Yeah. Full upwing
look,
and send it. You remember what Bobby King said? Just
I was about to say
blow over.
exactly what Bob said. Just stand on it.
Probably no different than what Hearn was just doing the other day.
Probably not. And that's a nice protected lake that they test on. So for it to be rough, it must have been windy.
Oh yeah.
Go
ahead.
Caesars will be good. It's nice, protected, 100% around. So
That's good.
might get lucky.
Hopefully.
Well, that
Yeah,
just
a lot of
dawned
people
on me.
traveling.
They test a lot up in Valleyfield at that whatever it is. I forget what it's called. What
The
they call it.
bridge.
The
Whatever
bridge.
Yep.
Guillaume Charrette's coming all the way to Ohio and Caesars Creek to test when he could test 2 minutes away down
It's
the road.
Probably still cold up there. I know Serge said like a week ago it was snowing up there. So
So it's
Right
probably
there.
still ice.
they're like, yeah, we're not chancing on blowing over because we'll get hyperthermia.
Right?
And like Brandon said, they got like the real kind of HRL style course set up down here. I think up there they're not even running
There's
with
no
buoys,
buoys.
so it's you're just
Yeah.
kind of like you said, testing system stuff like that. I'm sure you can
It's
get
hard to
data,
get-
but
Hard to get accurate data from lap
Yeah.
to lap when you make changes without a course. So.
Yeah, we've tried to do it at Cambridge, and I've got thousands of laps there, and I don't think I did the same course twice.
I was about to, you throw that data map up.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
throw that data map,
big.
and it's just going all different places.
Oh dear. That's like your data map from Guntersville 2 years ago when you went out and just forgot where the turn was.
Hey, man,
You mean the
that
unlimited
boat
course?
was rolling
Well,
when we got to that unlimited turn one. We was hauling.
Yeah,
That's-
were you just like, damn, I've been going for way too long?
Nah, it felt normal. To be honest, we were rolling, and then my radios weren't working, so Mom was like yelling to herself, like, "Turn, turn!" I said, "Turn." Man,
Did you happen
I
to
don't
see
know.
what that thing got up to? Just letting it go.
Speed wise? I think we
Yeah.
went like 155. Yeah,
155.
we were rolling.
That was awesome.
They're changing the course again this year, so they'll probably throw me off all again. So if you're,
Yeah,
if you're on my outside, prepare to run the big course.
I think because of that, last year everyone's watching Brandon. Like, I remember people
he do it
saying it,
again?
like, "Let's go see if he runs the unlimited course
Yeah.
again." And that's the same thing they're going to say this year. Let's see if Brandon runs the unlimited course.
They were like, y'all come out on the boat, we'll see the course. And I looked, I was like, man, that is a long boat ride on this little dinky boat. I'm good, I'll figure it out. Apparently, I should have went out on that boat.
I remember
Yeah.
the first time I hopped on that course on Hydro Sim. I started driving. I had never heard of the course. Nobody told me anything about it. I just hopped on, and I remember I couldn't find it. I had to get off. I was talking to Bob later that week. I'm like,
Can't
"Dude,
find
where
the
hell-
course.
Where the hell are the buoys at? Like, is this not supposed to be released yet? I don't know where to go. And he had to actually get on the game and drive me across the course. Show me
Yeah,
where it
it's
is to go.
crazy. When you go out of the pits like slow, slow in a GP is like 80. It's like a whole minute to get over there.
Yeah.
It's like- and then dude, when you get towed in, it's a whole like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I got towed in from the final there, and yeah.
It's a long ride.
I think it was it Ken Brody was getting towed in at the same time. I forget, and I told my tow guy, I was like, "Hey, can we beat that boat in? I want to beat something today."
Yeah. It was so hot. I was literally about to get in the water and just hold on to the rudder and like be like a little swimmer back there because it was so hot.
Yeah, I remember we were heading back. We were either coming across the causeway there or going back over to the pits, and I saw you like laying out on the deck of the GP getting towed back, and I was like, man, he's got so long to go.
Oh yeah, yeah. We were just getting started.
Yeah. Oh damn. Yeah, do you guys? I don't know. You expect to see anything? You think we'll see a blowover this weekend at testing? I mean, we had one last year.
Last year, I
Seven.
can't believe that.
Austin said
I
I'm
mean,
seven.
you don't want to blow over in testing. I mean, but I can't believe that boat came apart like that last year.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
It's
crazy.
wild.
I mean, then they turn around and buy another boat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
again, when you got that addiction, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't think there'll be any blowovers, and
No. I think especially after it happens one year, like the next year, everybody's like, all right, let's.
yeah,
You're like, hey, are you going to be the
Not
idiot
do
this
this.
year?
right.
Imagine the rescue last year. They're sitting there like, guys, come on.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be taking it easy this
Yeah,
weekend.
exactly.
So I want to give a shout out to Mike Grandel. I hope you're happy. I'm wearing your Bad Influence 79 shirt. I even got a stain on it because I'm actually one of your drivers that actually worked on the boat that he drove. So, yeah, I got some
Boy
grease
just
stains
rolled
on it.
around in the dirt. Don't be lying.
But no, I just want to say I wore it for you. Appreciate all you do for boat racing, my racing career, and I hope you keep supporting hydroplane racing and with running your boat in GPA and HRL. And
He will probably never hear that because now that Scott Cropfeld's the crew chief, I don't think he ever gets off the phone.
who do you think talks more, Grandel or Scott Cropfeld?
I think Scott's putting Mike
Kim.
in his place, man, with the talking. He's like, Mike don't get a word in. I'm sure of it.
I used to remember when Scott was on your GP team. I think it was with the EMS, right?
Yeah. He started
Yeah.
with us with the Coma boat and then EMS. Yep.
My dad's like the same way. Like my dad could just talk about anything. He knows stuff that he's got no business knowing. Watch Modern Marvels one time or something and just remembered the whole thing. And him and Scott could talk for 5 hours. It was the one weekend when you blew out the back. Was it the back right of the boat?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that wasn't Brandon. That was
Bert.
Was that you?
That was
What's
Bert.
that?
Bert
Yeah,
did
that was
it.
Bert
I
at
did it in
GP.
Valleyfield, and then Bert
Oh,
did it
okay.
in Detroit.
So I was saying
that
the one in
boat did it
Valleyfield.
twice.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
okay.
they had the HRL kind of handyman or whatever that whatever they had that role.
Donald LeDuc came and fixed
Yeah.
it for us, man.
Came over there, fixed it. We kind of all just sat there, drank beer, not supervised, but just kind of hung out with the dude while he did his work. And Scott and my dad talked for, 5 hours like it was nothing.
There are definitely conversations you want to listen to. When he talks,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
there's a lot of knowledge there for sure. I mean,
for sure. Yeah.
I enjoyed all our time. I was busting his balls at the wedding we were just at, telling him he needed to come on to our team. That at least we try things. So give me some of that knowledge you got, and let's go ahead and cut this thing apart. Let's try some new stuff. But he's like, nah, I don't know. And then this announcement comes out. I was like, oh, okay, I see why you couldn't. Yeah, it's definitely good to have those people in the sport.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's cool you see some of those guys, especially the guys with that kind of that different next level of knowledge, move around from team to team and kind of spread that knowledge around. You obviously have guys that like that are on their own team, and not that there's anything wrong with sharing that info, or not sharing that info, but it's nice those guys that are able to spread that around to more people. It makes the classes better. I think you've seen the GP class, like you were saying in the one episode, has improved quite drastically over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when Scott was on our team, we'd always be like, dude, why are you talking about this? Why are you telling everybody this? But he just wanted to see everybody get around a corner safe. He wanted everyone to be better, safer. And then once you're safer and everyone can hold the same arc, now it comes down to drivers and motors. And I mean, he's always, he just busted his butt on the Steeler Wild one, whatever it is now, and did a bunch of work to it. And he said that boat was just used and abused. It's been around for a long time, but instead of doing the little tiny tasks that he was asked to do to fix, he took it another step further. And that's just the kind of great guy he is to be around anyone's stuff that lets him touch it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very knowledgeable person, and he knows what he's talking about. So it's when you can catch him in the pits and he wants to talk about something, you sit there and listen, and you try to retain all that he's putting out at 100 miles an hour. But yeah, he's definitely a smart guy, and Grandel is very fortunate to have Cropfeld in his corner and running that program for him.
For sure.
So to conclude today's episode, we're going to do another Hydro 101. We've kind of touched on it in the past, explaining the GP series, but
One rule, one of the penalties that drivers will face, or potentially face, is jumping the gun. The way our starts work is there's a rolling 5-minute clock that kind of initiates the boats leaving the pits. That clock will obviously count down from 5 minutes all the way to 0. In that time, you go out, you do some warm up laps, maybe some timing runs for your start, and then towards the end of that 5 minutes, you start getting yourself in position. Whether you're fighting for lanes or in assigned lanes, and ideally the goal is to hit your mark at the same speed you took your timing mark, and hit that start rate at 0 as fast as you can be going, and carry all that speed into the first turn. However, if you do get there a little early, you'll receive a penalty for jumping the gun. It's a one, I think in both APBA and HRL, it's 1 minute, or is it one lap?
One lap.
One lap in HRL. So 1 lap penalty. I'd say next year, you get a 1 lap penalty, you're pretty much out. The competition's too stout to overcome a 1 lap penalty unless everybody else breaks down. But especially in the like the 350 class, GP class, you get a 1 lap penalty, you might as well just put it on cruise control. Make sure you keep everything together. It's definitely one of those penalties that I think drivers. I know me this year, I was late to several starts because I think I was more scared of jumping the gun than I was being late. You can lose a race by doing both. If you're too late, too conservative, you can really take yourself out of it. But if you do jump the gun, you're pretty much out of it immediately, and there's no opportunity to fight back. So it's one of those. I'd say it's probably one of those things you get better at with experience. I'm sure you guys could elaborate more on that, but that's one of my goals this year, is to just get more comfortable. I felt pretty comfortable about taking timing marks. I clearly have something to work on because they seem to be wrong way more often than I wanted them to be. So we'll try to improve on that a little bit this year and see if we can do a little bit better job.
I know one big thing that I need to work on is just trusting the timing mark.
Yeah.
I'm good taking it, but you see that clock counting down, you see the line coming up, you think you're going to be early. Burp it, and that's it.
Yeah, you almost can't burp it. Once you're committed, you got to commit. And I think I watch a lot. The unlimited guys, they take so many different timing marks, and they just trust them because you can't lift in those boats. And I think that's why. Same with like J stocks and stuff like that. The outboards, I think that's why you see a lot of outboards guys be very good at their starts because they're so used to just commit. I mean, in APBA, the 1 minute penalty is not a killer for your weekend; it's a killer for your heat. But in HRL, you get the 1 lap penalty plus you get a 5-point penalty. That almost kills your weekend or puts you to a consolation heat for having that one penalty. So that nervousness and you don't want to screw up, really, definitely, you got to put it out of your mind. It's really hard. It's a mental game for sure.
I'm kind of against the 1 lap and 1 minute penalty. I don't think it should be that devastating to your heat or weekend. I mean, you jump the gun by a 1 foot and you're out of the race. It should be do a 10-second penalty, 15-second penalty, and every second you go over the jump, over the start. Say you do 10-second for every second that you jump. Say you jump 2 seconds, it's 20 seconds. Like, you shouldn't take a boat out of the race who is trying to push the start and essentially is actually pretty much there, right? I mean, you see guys who were 5-6 seconds late for the start. Give them a penalty for being late to the start and not making the show look good.
Right.
I mean, come on. Throw the guys who are pushing the start a bone a little bit. Like, help them out. Like, I really think, because, I was driving the Pennzoil H350. I was up in St. Felician. I was told I jumped the gun. Okay, so I put it on the outside and went half throttle. I'm like, I'm not going to push it because I jumped the gun. Why push it? There's no reason to push it. I'm out of the race. I jumped the gun by 2 feet? Who cares? I'm not pushing it. So maybe they need to rethink this a little bit. Like, come on, guys. Let's figure out how we can make this a little bit more competitive rather than saying, oh, hey, you jumped the gun. Might as well just go back to the pits, park it. You're done for the final. You're done for the weekend. Your points are screwed up. I mean, they got to figure something else out. Like, let's mix it up a little bit.
I think in HRL, there's definitely an opportunity to maybe reevaluate and make the punishment a little less severe. But I guess the concern I'd have in APBA is, even a 2 boat length, let's say you jump the gun by 1 or 2 boat lengths, like it only takes 4 to get that overlap. And if somebody gets that overlap, it's not just them that you're no longer able to really compete with. The boats inside of them, even sometimes the boats outside of them, you get thrown into that rooster tail or that bad water, and it can affect illegal boats' competitive standing in the race. I mean, there's things like that are just going to happen in racing. But no, I think in HRL more so with the assigned lanes, you have to hold your lane through the first turn. There's more, I guess, room to maybe consider a change. I mean, like you said, I don't think the 10-second rule would be horrible. You know, you do 10 seconds and maybe for every second, like you said, so 10, 20, if it's 2 seconds, something like that. And I guess, you know, what that does is maybe a really fast boat that's really pushing the start is able to overtake some boats and get that type of gap.
I mean, let's use F1 for example. I mean, it's not, you jump the start, you 1 lap penalty, or if they cut a corner, you know, they get a warning, or they do get a penalty. Like, it was a 3-second penalty. So like if we hit a buoy, give like a 10-second penalty or 20-second penalty.
You would want a lenient rule on that one.
Yeah, I mean, here we go. I ran into that one. I ran right into that one. Oh man,
we ran into 2 actually.
But really, like, I don't know how HRL's scoring system is, but APBA, they push a button every time the boat crosses the line, right?
Yeah.
So you have it there on your screen, and all it is, this boat got a 15-second penalty or a 10-second penalty. Well, you had 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Let's add 10 seconds, 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And then you adjust it from there on your computer. It's not that hard, and it would keep things more interesting. I mean,
it would also give the fans, like, once you explain it to the fans, and I mean, a lot of boat racing fans are so dedicated, they would get it, and they'd be like, oh my God, is he, how far up is he? Is first place? He jumped the gun, but is he 10 seconds up? They'd whip out their phones or stopwatches. They'll be timing, like, all right, are they 10 seconds? I mean, maybe someday we'll have live timing. The technology is coming for that, GPS based, so it could be on their app, like, he has a 10-second penalty. It could add a little excitement, and I mean, for us drivers, definitely be cool too to not have a huge penalty.
And you see,
that might be the best idea Bobby's ever had, folks. Follow it up with a stupid one here, Bob.
You got this, brother.
You got this.
Special teams.
Let's
special
go, brother.
Boats.
That's funny.
All right, so I do have another thing.
Here he comes with a dumb idea.
So I heard through the grapevine that some Australian, not the guy, not the one we just interviewed, but another gentleman was doing some research on engines to bring into their 2.5 stock class. So I started asking questions, and I was like, well, what are you looking for? And so we started talking, and they're looking for an engine that's affordable, an engine that costs less than what they're running now. And I said, okay, well, how much is that? And he gave me a price point. I said, well, that's way cheaper than both of our options that we have over here. And I said, so we started asking questions and going back and forth. And I said, well, let's collaborate on this. So we sent out a survey to all the 2.5s in APBA, all the 2.5s in HRL. And this survey that we sent out it's not talking about what engines would you like to bring in. It's like what horsepower rating, and it gives, this horsepower group, and so on. Do you want a open ECU or locked ECU? Do you want stock exhaust, or stuff like that? And we've gotten some surveys back. Some people want to stay in the dinosaur age with their carbureted engines and never change. I mean, we can also be driving 1985 Ford Broncos to races too, but times change. We have electric cars now. Not that I will ever want a boat to go electric, but
they are.
But then you have guys who do want a new engine in the class. I mean, and so we're looking at some engine options. We're taking the surveys as we get them, and we're saying, okay, well, the majority want this horsepower, the majority wants this changed or this done to the engine, and come to find out, we can do this a lot cheaper than the Ford, a lot cheaper than other options that we have. Don't want to step on anyone's toes, but You know, 2.5 stock should be an entry level class for the average American, not to go spend $40,000 on a boat and $20,000 on an engine and then $10,000 on a prop. It's getting out of hand. I mean, what I think needs to be done, we need to bring in this affordable engine. It'll have to be gearbox because the engines built these days, their cranks are a lot higher in the block. It should be, your gearbox is inspectable. You can't do anything tricky in your gearbox. It should be stock exhaust, not stock exhaust, but a spec exhaust, because you don't want guys going out and spending 10 grand on different exhausts to figure out which one puts out more horsepower. ECU, I don't think you should be able to play with it. I think it should be certain parameters and let that do its job. I'm all for upping the weight limit in 2.5 stock by 200 pounds, because you up it by 200 pounds, what do? You do two things. You allow heavier boats to be more competitive, and then you allow less exotic materials like carbon fiber built in a boat, which brings the price of your boat down when you go buy a new one. So it does two things. And that's, so upping the weight, I think the weight should be upped in almost every class to try to knock down the cost of people trying to go buy state-of-the-art boats that are right on the weight limit. I mean, it's getting out of hand. So I think every racing organization should focus on 2.5 stock and try to get that cost down to try to get more people in the class, because right now it's ridiculous. I mean, you can go spend a small fortune on a new 2.5 stock with a Ford engine with aluminum head, or the Honda and props. I mean, all said and done, you're 60 grand to go entry level racing in either organization, and probably Australia too. I mean, say you lower that cost, say you can lower the engine cost. Say, let's just the engine cost. Say if you're at $6,000 to get that engine going, well, to buy a brand new engine, versus $14,000 to $20,000. How many more people do you think would want to get in the class when it's more affordable? And then you say you have to run stock props, that you have to run a spec prop made by DeWalt, or probably DeWalt. He can probably pump them out a lot more. I don't know, Baker maybe, I don't know, but stock props. I mean, so you get option A, B, or C. What racing organization says, hey, you go run whatever tires you want, like in car racing? You go run, no, you run in SCCA. Certain classes can only run Hoosier. You run in F1, you can only run Pirelli, the soft, medium, or hard. You don't get all these options. APBA, every racing organization has let it got carried away to where there's too many options and the cost just keeps going up. They need to bring this class back to its roots and where it was a starter class for the average guy. It's just getting out of hand. My rant's over. Go ahead, guys.
That was Bobby's rant for the day. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of them things that if you could standardize it between 3 different countries all across the world, I mean, we're on different sides of the pond, as we saw tonight in our interview with Steven, and it'd be really cool. I mean, then everyone can share parts and pieces, and I mean, this all happened back in the 80s when my dad was involved in the 2.5 stock class when Cobra came on, and those motors were $500 race ready. He bought one for $500 in Mays Landing, took his mounts off on an oil drum, and put the other one in, went out there and won the next heat the next day. It went from 500 to 10,000. It's just, I mean, you can only patch the dinosaur for so long, and that's why a lot of these race organizations are looking at new options and doing what they think's best for them. But as we continue to grow, there might be better options out there for sure. And I mean, there's definitely a lot of different manufacturers of cars and motors in them and all that stuff. And I know when SCCA we ran the spec classes, and for us it wasn't cheap by all means. I mean, those cars were 50, 60 grand, but every piece was stock. Everybody had the same horsepower within 4. So every motor was dynoed. You knew one guy could only have 4 more horsepower. The gears were stock. All that stuff was stock. So all you could do is drive. And I mean, if you can get that back into it and not be chasing so much of horsepower or propellers, that definitely helps lower the cost and lower the chase for the smaller guys for sure. And I mean, getting cost of boats down, that's the difficult part. But engines, I mean, maybe like you said, if the weight limit goes up, maybe wood boats could come back and be a little more prevalent in the class. I mean,
They could.
That's where it's hard. I mean, everything evolves. That's why I went to composite technologies, but maybe there's ways. Maybe there's different things to get out. I mean, Bert did it a few years ago with the for sale boats. It was a cheap package. I mean, they were Y boats back when Y boats were cheap. Now they've gotten outrageously priced too with the motors and stuff. But that for sale package was race ready. I think it was like 25 grand. You get a brand new Henderson hydroplane with a brand new motor, and those boats before they sold would go out and break their records. So I mean, but we've steered away from that. We've let owners be in control, and so I think it's time these organizations. 3 heads are better than 1. I mean, you get us all in there. Everybody has different opinions, so maybe it can be gathered up into some useful information.
Well, I think it wasn't my idea. It was the gentleman in Australia's to put out the survey. He said it's better to ask the crowd and get their opinion rather than forcing something down their throat. He's like, so let's see what the majority wants and then try to build off that. I mean, because popular opinion is better than unpopular opinion. So that's the route we're trying to go, and I think that we have a good idea of where we can go with this. It's all about keeping costs down, and like I said before, you up the weight limit 200 pounds, you could possibly build a wood boat for 10-15 grand and go be competitive, because at the weight limit now, you build a wood boat, you're going to have to build it pretty thin to try to make it light, and we all know thin wood boats break apart. So you up that weight limit, you can build that wood boat a little thicker, a little bit more durable. So I don't know. I hope some people listen to this, and I hope some stuff changes. But we got to start thinking outside of our garages and also have a little bit of an open mind.
Definitely.
That would be interesting to see how that progresses moving forward. I mean, I think as boat racers, boat race fans, everything, like the goal's always got to be to try to keep moving the sport forward, and not always just in a cheaper way, a more competitive way, whatever the case may be, whatever the subject or the topic may be. But like you said, it's at least the ideas are worth exploring. If you hit a dead end and something doesn't work out, then you move on to the next idea. But
always got to be trying, right?
Yeah, you got to be trying. You got to be open minded, and exhaust all your options.
Definitely, it's always something. Definitely like and subscribe Chasin Tails, because we're going to bring you the info as we get it, and might be some new things coming next week, might be some more answers, and we're just going to bring you the content as we get it.
Well, this has been another week of Chasin Tails Podcast. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and hit that like button. Thanks for watching.